Hey, maximum effort movie lovers, you're listening to the fifth fantastically frightening episode of Don't Spill the Popcorn!
My name is Joe.
And I'm Celine DeLeon.
And we're two independent filmmakers who have worked together many years, here to bring you honest, critical, and enjoyable movie reviews on exclusively new films only.
You can currently reach us with any comments, concerns, or corrections at don'tspillthepopcorn@gmail.com or on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. We've had this for a while, but neglected to ever say anything. We have a website, so go give it a peek at don'tspillthepopcorn.buzzsprout.com, along with Spotify and Apple Music. We also post all of our episodes to our YouTube channel. One last mention, if you enjoy this movie review podcast and would like to support and back us up monetarily, you can pledge starting as low as $5 on our Patreon at patreon.com/don'tspillthepopcorn. For the lowest pledge, you'll get early access to every released episode and you'll get a shout out on the next episode.
So without further ado, folks, let's dive right on into this fantastic news section.
How Hollywood is failing transgender and non-binary characters, and why the indies aren't enough anymore. When it comes to transgender and non-binary representation, Hollywood has a lot of work to do. Like a lot. I mean, days after MJ Rodriguez, which is a singer-actress known best for playing Angel in the film Rent, made history as the first transgender actor nominated for the Outstanding Actress Emmy for her performance in the third and final season of Pose, which I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, because I personally have never watched it, but we're going to go with Pose, and if I'm wrong, go ahead and hit us at don'tspillthepopcorn@gmail.com. GLAAD, which is the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, released their annual Studio Responsibility Index and found that there were exactly zero, I repeat, zero transgender or non-binary characters in major Hollywood films. And this is like for the fourth year in a row, man. Like, this is insane.
I'm very disheartened to hear of that. There's so many great stories to be told, you know what I mean? So many opportunities to even just write something that's fictional. You know, well, I just can't believe that 4 years that they've been checking this in a row now, and there's just nothing to be accounted for.
Which is insane to me, because I feel like I've seen things, but apparently I haven't. And I just thought I've seen things, or like representation in films, and apparently I have not. Maybe the representation that I'm thinking is the like TV shows and stuff, because they're more progressive when it comes to this, because there's 29 regular and recurring transgender characters just in the past year alone. So TV shows and everything have been a lot better about representation than the actual Hollywood films have been.
So I guess Hollywood just needs to jump on board, and I truthfully don't know what they're waiting for.
Well, I mean, things are slowly changing. I mean, they need to be faster, which things are kind of like, now that things have been changing, it's been kind of sped up a little bit more, but we're at this weird place when it comes to like, I mean, I guess there's more representation when it comes to like queer representation, gay and lesbian, bisexual representation. It's the transgender or the non-binary people that aren't getting this recognition right now, without getting this representation, I should say. And that's where we're trying to like fight more towards now too, because they're just, everyone's important. Everyone needs to be heard.
Mm-hmm. Yes. We need to stop having tunnel vision with binaries, with anything.
I mean, and I'll tell you, sometimes I have tunnel vision. Like, I just get caught up in just my regular life that I'm just like, I don't think about certain things. And it's like, well, be progressive even within your own self. Everyone can be a little bit more progressive than they are, including me. I really need to be sometimes, so we're all at fault of that. Anybody, everyone.
Yeah. And that's the special thing about it, is when you take opportunities to understand that you have things that you have learned, things that are kind of built into your brain and the way that you think and the way that you speak, that you might constantly be reminding yourself and combating to forget those things on your, on a daily basis, and being aware of those things and just knowing that you will make mistakes and knowing that you're just trying to, work on being appropriate and being considerate of other people is definitely a good step that I hope we all start to take.
It's going to be worth it. It'll be worth it in the end. We're all just trying to gravitate and move towards a happier life together, a happier existence where we can all just potentially try to get along and just have, we have enough demons that we're all trying to fight. We don't need to fight each other.
Yes. So with that, all that is to say that this is a safe space for anyone and all is welcome, and we support you, trans and non-binary folk.
My other news that I have, The Last of Us HBO series just cast another voice actor from the video game, which is super exciting. HBO's television adaptation of the popular video game The Last of Us continues to fill out its cast as it shambles its way through production like an angry clicker. One of the latest additions is deeply familiar with the world of the games. So hopefully they do justice, by the way. Because he played a key role in both of them, Jeffrey Pierce, who voiced the part of Tommy in The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2, has been cast in the show, but he'll be playing a different character in the series. Plus, 2 HBO veterans have joined up as well. Surprisingly, that this is in here as our news section, I just reposted today on my Facebook page that I just got done finishing a year ago today, The Last of Us 2, and how much I loved it. I gave it a 10 out of 10. Absolutely love that game and would love to play it again. I should whenever I get a chance. Yeah, and Joe and I just got done watching this fan film called Stay, but it's like The Last of Us concept. And it's an indie film, about 7 minutes, a little less than 8 minutes long. And wow, they did awesome. They did so good on that. I hope that the show can even come close to what they did, because like we were saying, when it comes to TV shows, independent adaptations compared to Hollywood adaptations of video games, the independent films usually do it better than the Hollywood films somehow. At least the feel and look.
Right. Right, and then you can usually tell that, the only thing that's holding them back usually from getting that Hollywood-esque kind of feel is merely money and equipment, budget, mostly. You can only go so far. And I mean, this is definitely to credit them as much as possible. They definitely went and brought this as far as I thought was practical and as possible for an indie film without breaking the bank. They really did really great with this. It looked good. It was a nice callback to the actual game while having a nice inspired side story that could have been anybody in the game. And I hope that this video does so well. Who also, if you do want to see it, Joshua Toonen is the name that you want to look up for his channel on YouTube. If you want to see that, you will not be disappointed. And I'm hoping that it does well enough that he decides to make more side stories just like that. Because honestly, I could watch an entire playlist and be like, oh shit, I had stuff to do today. And ended up just watching all those videos instead. Priceless.
So make sure you tune into his YouTube channel.
Tune into his channel! Yes! I'm definitely thankful that I have a back catalog of live streaming The Last of Us 2. Those playing in succession the first game, knowing that the second one was coming out, to immediately dive in and live stream the second game was an enthralling experience. It really was. It was very captivating. I was drawn in the entire time. It felt so real, and that honestly is just like a beautiful memory for Pittsburgh for me. I just remember Pittsburgh really well when I think about playing Last of Us like that too. So that's a nice little piece in my heart as well.
Also, Pittsburgh was in the first Last of Us, which was cool.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. I remember messaging you and being like, no way. I'd just be totally fanboying about it. So moving on into my section of the news here. For those of you who don't know Ronnie Chang, he is a comedian and actor that is mostly known for doing his work on The Daily Show, but more recently over the years, he's been coming out with his own stand-ups, which actually are very, very funny. I think that he's hilarious. His delivery is just absolutely perfect. He's really, really funny. But right now, the reason why I'm bringing up this guy is because he is in the developing process with Sony, creating a comedy action film that's going to be kind of like a martial arty kind of comedy. So I'm wondering if it's going to be like, like the Jackie Chan kind of action comedy where it's like kind of more action and drama than comedy, or if it's going to be more comedy heavy, which is something that I can't really give an example of when it comes to action and comedy. Usually the action always kind of leans over top of the comedy. At least that's what I've noticed over the films that I've seen, anecdotally. So this feature project, like I said, was described as a martial arts comedy. It will be set in San Francisco, and it's going to be produced. I was going to say reproduced. It's going to be produced by Montecito Picture Company. Additional plot details are being kept way under wraps, so I don't have anything else to tell you, folks. Besides my next thing in the news revolving around Mark Wahlberg making this transformation for his new film. And usually something like this, I think, is like, just leave him alone. Just let him do his thing. Like, he's just preparing for a role. Like, I don't think this is news. But this dude, for 2 weeks, ate 11,000 calories a day. That is an enormous amount of calories. Like, this guy, he has to be literally using his body to use that energy so much. I can only imagine that he can't even stop using his body while he's eating. Like, he must still be doing things while preparing and eating the food all at once. Apparently, he revealed on The Tonight Show this week that his transformation diet is for the new faith-based drama Stew, resulting in him eating that many calories a day for 2 weeks, up from the 7,000 calories he was consuming each day for 2 previous weeks before those weeks. My God. So I can only imagine what's going on with his body right now, but I'm sure he's feeling it. So apparently this film is based on a true story of Reverend Stuart Long, who was a boxer before becoming a priest.
So I know that we're talking about Fear Street Part 2, but, with our follow-up section, we usually talk about the previous film. So we're going to kind of go back and forth throughout this whole thing, kind of like referencing and everything. But Fear Street's vinyl soundtrack artwork, like, it is awesome. I don't know if you have seen it yet. For Part 1, 1994, check it out.
Yeah, it's sexy.
Honestly, they should have used the same artwork for the movie poster because it's so much better.
Yeah, because I thought that the poster sucked. It was like... Yes. I like the colors, but it was like blurry and just faded and totally... It didn't look very good. The idea was good, but the execution was trash.
They should have definitely did this, especially because they're based off the books, and this honestly looks like the Fear Street book covers. So I think they should have went this route, and it still looks creepy, and it looks like a movie.
It even looks like an old book.
Yes.
It looks like, like an old vinyl that's been already sitting in your basement for a long time.
It looks like a movie that I would watch for sure. I mean, the other one looks like I'd look at the cover and be like, yeah, I would watch it, or like the poster, and I'd be like, yeah, I'd watch this. I like the colors and everything else, and the killers and stuff on there. It looks good. But this one, like, really makes me, like, look at it and be like, this looks like it could be creepy and just, like, creative. The films were actually scheduled to be released theatrically on June 2020. In June 2020, sorry. But it was pulled because of COVID-19, obviously. A lot of movies were not happening.
I was wondering how long ago that these films were filmed. It has the illusion that they just banged them all out recently, but I had a feeling that COVID had something to do with this. Damn you, COVID.
It's insane. I know. It's so insane.
We could have had this sooner.
We could have. And actually, I think it would have been so cool to have seen these 3 movies hit the theaters. It would have really brought a lot of revenue in.
I would have been living around you too when they came out, dude.
But we wouldn't have been doing our podcast at the time, so that's the only good thing that it waited.
True.
But we definitely would have been hitting every single one of these in theaters. with it, it took so long, and Netflix kind of just like Disney has been buying everything. Netflix bought it, and they released it obviously June 2nd, 2021, and now we get to watch all three of them in a row, week after week. So that's at least that part's cool.
It's a gift.
Yeah. As cool as it would have been to see in theaters, I still think that they're doing well. Which the filming began in March of 2019 in Atlanta, around like East Point, Georgia area.
Since you love knowing where places are so much.
It's crazy because I feel like they maybe filmed in other places too, but I guess that's probably their hub of where they were filming. And speaking of filming, the second movie was actually the one that we're reviewing today was actually filmed last.
Look at that. I've been learned. You've been learned.
Yeah.
Let's dive right on in to the movie trailer for Fear Street, 1978.
Hello? It's not over.
You are our last chance.
How do we end this?
You have to go back.
To 1978. The first day of camp.
Looks like blood.
Do you have a better idea?
Maybe.
Who are you?
Nick Good.
Bad things always happen to Shadysiders.
You feel it, don't you?
There's something holding us down. Cursing us. Run!
One way or another, you're gonna die tonight.
There it is. It's not just a diary, it's a map.
I'm not letting you die.
My sister's still out there.
We can end this.
You swore. It's becoming a habit.
I'll survive. I will survive. Hey, hey.
The brief description from IMDb says, Shadyside, 1978. School's out for summer, and the activities at Camp Nightwing are about to begin. But when another Shadysider is possessed with the urge to kill, the fun in the sun becomes a gruesome fight for survival. Categorized under the drama, horror, mystery genres, this rated R Netflix original, directed by Lee Janiak, which I, again, don't know how to pronounce her name, so I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong, is the second of a Trifecta horror series that has pulled together a 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb, an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 61% on Metacritic.
There you are, Metacritic. Oh, we missed you.
I know, you're back. You're back. We did miss you. We had to deal with the other one for one episode, which sucked.
Yeah, they better not come back, Common Sense Media. You stay away.
We don't like you. Not with those reviews.
No, awful. I mean, Metacritic wasn't very generous either, but
No, they weren't.
still better than 2 out of 5.
I mean, 61% on Metacritic isn't terrible. It's above the 50% mark.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess maybe they're pretty big critics over there at Metacritic.
One 5-star review said, the story for this one was amazing. I love how they switched from part 1 to part 2.
He can count.
It was so perfect that there was no plot hole. Like the story was consistent throughout. So everything made complete sense, unlike the first, where a lot of things happened and we were still trying to understand the story and appreciate the characters.
Beautiful. There was, though, one not so gracious and disgusting 1-star review.
Dude, I was so pissed when I read this one. I was so irritated. I can't, just read it. I'm so annoyed. Just read it.
Oh, yeah. So I just came to break this baby on down real quick. So some white male jackass, obviously able to assume that, as you will see, writes as the title, warning, still doing that woke crap, says, copying the classics badly, trying to force women to be heroes, trying to force gay alphabet people to be brave,
That was...
trying to force black kids to be smart, trying to copy the classics to give some charm, trying to perceive white males as villains. Well, I wonder why.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah, the writers, directors, and producers created a childish plot and are very disrespectful with heterosexual men, making us weak on preconception.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
So anyway, some of the main faces in this film are Sadie Sink, who I am sure that you would recognize from her role in Stranger Things as Max, from American Odyssey in 2015, as well as Suzanne Ballard. Emily Rudd, known for her roles in The Romanoffs in 2018 and Olive Forever in 2018. Ryan Elise Simpkins, known for their performance in films such as Pride and Glory, A Single Man, and Revolutionary Rod. They have worked with luminaries such as Leonardo DiCaprio, Russell Crowe, Amy Poehler, Will Ferrell, just the list goes on. And also performed on Broadway at the age of 7. So that is quite the resume right there.
And obviously, as you guys know, same director for all 3 films. And there's still there's no information on the budget or like the box office or anything like that. It's just I don't understand why. But especially because it was supposed to be a theatrical release, I'm surprised that there isn't information for that. But we'll see. I think since the third one technically is out now, just this as we're recording this, pretty much just came out. I think maybe we'll eventually start to get more information, hopefully.
So hit us with your general thoughts, Dilla Rooney.
So my general thoughts for the second film is I love the fact that obviously it's a second movie going straight from the first story into the second one. The fact that it takes place in like 1978, which is kind of like 78 80s feel, which I love 80s horror films, and I like the camp setting. I liked all of that. That was really good. The camera work was great. The lighting was awesome. The locations were so cool. You know, some of the characters were good. Some of the characters were really annoying, including some of the acting was kind of rough, I think. I think the main actress, Ziggy, she did really, really well throughout this whole thing. She was my favorite character in this one. I like the killers in this one as well. The music is good, but to me, not as good as the first one. So in general, I think that the first movie was better. The second movie was still good, but I enjoyed the first one better.
That was a beautiful, beautiful general thoughts that you just gave us there, Dylan. This movie was another fantastic hit, I thought, from the Trifecta series. I felt very, very close about this movie as I felt about the last movie, which is obviously just alone. If you did listen to our last review, you'll know that we left that last movie with very high praise. So I really did enjoy this movie. I think that maybe I was thinking that this would be quick because I thought we would be on the same page, but it's sounding like you have a few different thoughts than me on a few things. I didn't really see too much bad acting going on. I still felt like the music was written really well and really effective. Overall, I guess I could say that I was pretty open-minded about this one, and to a lot of points, I would maybe argue that by the time that we get done talking about this, that I will say that I liked it just a little bit more than the last one. There was a lot more. I just felt like I got to know everybody a lot better in this one, even though it was just a different period in time and it was probably going to be over before I knew it. I just felt like I got a lot more connected. I saw, overall, I was just saying I've seen more of as well. Like I could feel deeper connections between certain characters and people that are kind of reoccurring, and the feel that it brought. They really nailed the whole camp thing on the head. There's definitely a few things that I saw and noticed that it just kind of felt weird or didn't make sense or felt like they were lazy about. But other than that, my general thoughts is giving this movie a fantastic thumbs up so far. So let's break it on down, Dylan. I'm ready to break this baby on down.
Yes, I am too. So get ready because we're about to get into our spoiler section. So if you have not seen this film yet, please pause it, go watch it, and come back and listen to the spoiler section.
Buckle up, baby. Here we are, my friend, into another delicious spoiler section where everything goes and everyone knows. I feel like I forgot to say that in the last one, but I can't remember.
I don't know if you... I feel like maybe you have.
I can't remember. I've been trying... That's at least one thing that I've been trying to remember, but I don't know if I did.
But I wouldn't know because I didn't listen to it yet.
So, we're starting in this house, and it's kind of dark, it's kind of ominous. We don't know whose house it is, but we're assuming that it's going to be kind of starting us back off where we left off. So I was thinking maybe it's just Dina curled up on the couch, like just rocking back and forth, not knowing what to do, holding Sam, and Sam just sitting there. And they're like watching The Notebook or something like that. And she's, everything's fine.
They're watching The Notebook.
But you can hear on the news that they're talking about the mall massacre. And I'm starting to get the idea maybe this is Berman's house. And it turns out that they come over and she gets up.
I will say she's a very organized person. If you looked at everything, like even on the table, like she had in the ashtray, like before, like I think this might have been before she even went to the clocks. Like it showed like her ashtray and like her like cigarette butts were like lined up and like stacked and like everything was like straight and everything.
Yeah, very nice and neat. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you could see that note when she got up that said it's happening again. So you know that she is the one who Nick brought the note to when he found that necklace. So that's a nice little reveal there that they followed through and didn't leave any holes with. That's number one. There's a few of them that they clean up pretty well. So it's like all the things that whatever that person was saying in the first review, that 5-star review, like they do really bring things together throughout so that they didn't forget anything. And sometimes in those situations, I feel like sometimes things don't come back up because I accidentally forget about it.
But that's the thing, like people, like the person giving bad reviews or saying like, oh, there wasn't enough information on the first one or blah, blah, blah. You got to remember this, like this is pretty much, it is 3 movies, but it's like one giant film. So of course we're not going to get all of our answers in the first one and we're going to be left with random things that we don't know because the other ones have to pick that up or, you know, it would just... I don't know. I love the way they did it because they could do it that way. Unlike a movie has to pretty much like find all of their, like give all their answers and tell everybody everything for the most part. And because who knows if another film's going to either come out or when the next one will come out. But with them knowing there's already 3 slated, it's going to all come out back by back, like back to back. Like it's just, you can just, you can hold stuff out from people.
They made it blatantly obvious that there was a succession of films that was going to be happening. So if there was anybody that was getting butthurt about not finding something out and didn't realize that there was going to be more going on, somebody just needs to hold your hand through movies. God damn it. We're going to have to hire movie hand holders to help these people out. That's what the Patreon's for. After we get you a new microphone, we'll start raising money to hire movie handholders to help people get through movies so that we can stop these bad reviews on good movies.
I agree.
Things continue on. You know, this woman, I'm assuming Berman, apparently is like taking time management to a whole new level. Like there is just...
I don't understand why.
Clocks everywhere. So I just... Something about her, and maybe we'll find out, maybe not. I still think that it's a cool part of her character or something I've never really seen before where someone's like... needs help organizing their shit and knowing when to do things so bad for some reason that they need to have an individual clock for everything, an alarm for everything.
Could you imagine her phone, if that was like all, like if that was nowadays, like her phone would constantly be going off. Like, oh, next thing. Oh, next thing.
Boop-doo-doo-boop. Boop-doo-doo-boop. Yeah, and it seemed like she couldn't even keep up with her own her own time that she's set for everything.
Would you see them all? I mean, and she even had like, if you look, the 3 like tags I seen underneath like the alarm clocks. One said Jeopardy, the other one said dinner, another one said video store. So speaking of video store, that must mean that she leaves. Like she goes out and about.
Did you feel like she was a homebody? Because I didn't really get the impression that she would be a homebody. I figured she was just someone living her life and they've discovered her.
So my impression of her was that all this stuff happened to her, the whole witch thing, and technically it's not over. I thought
It's never over.
Yeah, and I thought the witch would have kept on following her, and like, you know, like they were for Sam. You know what I mean? Like the fact that these killers are chasing him still, I thought that was still an ongoing thing. So if that was the case, 1, I figured maybe that's why she wasn't leaving the house, but she does. 2, even if she was at home, these people would still, like, think about it. Like Tommy, you know, the axe murderer guy, whatever, like he's going to come over, like he's going to chop her door down. Like nothing's going to stop these people from getting in her house. So I feel like that's a plot hole that I'm just not understanding something.
Why nobody's coming after them?
Yes, I don't understand.
Nobody's coming after them because they beat it. Remember, she died. And so that was what made them stop coming after her. But the next part that happens to her is something that we don't understand yet, which is why she got all zombified and Berman didn't. And that's why she goes to Berman and she's like, okay, she's messed up. You survived. You're fine. What the hell's going on? Why? Help me. I love her. I need her. What's going on?
That makes a little bit more sense, I guess. Yeah.
Because I don't think at that point they shouldn't be coming after her.
Yeah.
Now everything was normal. You know what I mean? Josh was buying pizza and she's like, oh my God, you bought food? Best brother ever. Best fucking brother ever.
Well, then I wonder why she turned into like the witch possessed like killer person again. But that's the same as the skull killer guy at the mall. Like he randomly became possessed and he didn't even touch blood with, you know, the body of the witch or anything like that. So that's still like unanswered questions that I'm hoping we get in 1666.
Yeah, because there's still a chance. There is still a chance that they could leave us hanging on a few things. Who knows?
Oh, God. Unless they have more movies coming out, that would be upsetting.
So we kind of get a little bit more of Berman's personality because when it's time to eat, she has a big old fucking knife, just a frozen mac and cheese, and some good old Jackie Daniels.
Sounds delicious. It sounds like a good meal.
Then next, her alarms go for her to lock like 1 billion doors. I don't know how this little apartment has like 10 billion doors with 10 billion locks, but she is very, very safe. And then her dog is like kind of annoyingly barking, trying to, you know, it's like, hey, it's feeding time. And seconds after the dog barks, the alarm goes off. So they're really like showing like this woman's life is very hectic and she is definitely not doing very well.
What's her dog's name?
Major Tom.
Ah, nice. Okay.
Oh, were you testing me?
I was testing you because you always test me, and because you said her dog, and I was like, oh, well, maybe.
I got that name game.
Yeah, you do, you bastard.
Did you notice on the calendar, like it seems like she's counting up the days since the day that her sister died?
Oh, that's exactly what she's doing.
Yeah, it was like 5,000 something days. I didn't do the math. I should have did the math so I could figure out how old she was now, but. That's wild that she's been keeping track that many days. So whatever we get to learn about this woman in the future, everything that happened very understandably messed her up for good. So somebody's knocking at her door like absolute crazy. Like just totally not like grabbing the door handle like very, very obnoxiously. And you know, at this point, since the movie was fresh, I definitely was a little intimidated by that. And
I would definitely was.
You know, and there was all these lights that were flashing and creeping in all the windows and the crevices and all that. And they made it look like there was a lot of people. The way that they shot that and edited it, it looked like there was a lot of people.
And the way they panned with the camera was really cool too. The panned over to, you know, where Berman would have been. We'll call her Ziggy, I guess. Ziggy would have been on the couch. And she's not there. She's hiding. She took Major Tom and hit him and said, shut the fuck up. No, she didn't say shut the fuck up, but she was just like, be okay, be quiet.
Whoever is around her house starts coming through the window and then boom, Ziggy just literally like not fucking around at all, grabs her, pulls her in, ready to completely stab her, take her out. It's like she's been ready for this moment her whole life or something. Maybe that's what it's all about.
So Dina takes Ziggy outside, and where they show Sam in the trunk, you know, all like squirming and shit. And they bring Sam inside. They talk talk Ziggy into bringing Sam into her house, which I was so surprised by, that she was like, yeah, you can bring her in. I don't know any of you. She's obviously possessed by this, you know, the same thing that happened to Tommy. So, you know, she's seen this happen, but she's willing to bring her into the house.
And she was calling her, she's like, get that thing out of here. It and thing and it. Like, she was very obnoxiously talking down to what Sam once was.
But I'm still surprised. Are you?
No, only because I'm rationalizing it with when Dina had that little monologue and was like, I need your help. I love her. And so that must have struck a bell with her. And she's like, love. People will do anything for love. I must save her love. So that's the only motive that I can put behind why she would do that. But it was funny that she was like, it's fine, come in, just keep her away from Major Tom.
Yeah, I did like that, because I would have been me too, but like, yeah.
And in my head, I was like, oh, is Major Tom going to fuck her up or what? Like, but Sam at this time, Sam sounds so nasty, so guttural. Like, at this point, I forgot how gross she was and how she sounded. You know, when she was getting pulled in, just... felt like she was making noises for asylum sounds for Horrible 4 Resolution. And man, Josh's face when they both leave her in the room and tie her up and come out, and they're just like awkwardly standing there, real stiff. It's fine. She's fine. Everything's okay. It's like, it's all good. Let's just get to it. Don't worry about anything. Don't get distracted by this crazy person.
So now we get story time, which takes us right into the camp back in July 12th, 1978.
And it started nice right off the bat, like just pumping it right in, running. Yep, I love that.
And she was running for a while. We're thinking like maybe a killer or somebody was coming after her. We thought, you know, the story's just picking up right there. But
right, just boom.
She gets clotheslined right in the face by these other camp kids, or whatever we want to call them. Assholes. I'm going to call them assholes.
And there's that bloody nose again. Already, we're getting to see that bloody nose again.
She got a bloody nose because she got clotheslined.
But still, it's the same way. You know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of been a reoccurring thing where they like really emphasize when they have those bloody noses. So I was like, there it is. There's that first bloody nose.
Yeah, which happens a couple times. Which the blood in this movie looks really good, by the way.
Yeah, it does. Hell yeah, it does. Especially on Tommy's face.
Ooh, that made him look creepy. That made him look real creepy.
So how did you feel about these kids?
The actors, a lot of the people, yes, I know they're supposed to be like irritating. They definitely irritated me. They were jerks. And I could see like 78, 80s time period, like especially movies, like people were jerks like that. They were a little over dramatic. They were a little so they did good with that. But at the same time, I'm just like, oh, some of the acting was a little rough. Maybe not in that moment, but there's different moments and different actors where I was just like, you're a little rough or you're a little irritating. And then the second watch, one of the actresses, one of the characters that kind of irritated me was Cindy, like one of the main characters, which is Ziggy's sister. She, for some reason, the first time I watched, irritated me. Like just the whole time, I was like, you're just annoying. You're just super annoying to me. But the second time, I was like, the second time, I knew more.
She was still annoying even after you understood why?
That's where I was like, it was a little less annoying because I figured out a little bit more information. But still kind of annoying, but a lot less annoying in the second watch.
Yeah. I didn't mind it because she wasn't like mean prissy. You know what I mean? She was just being like, she just wanted to be good. You know what I mean? I mean, she did kind of care what other people were doing a little bit, but she kind of was mostly like that for herself. So that's why it didn't bother me too much.
I'll say though, Alice I didn't like her, especially the second time. She irritated me the second time around. Like,
so those kids, man, I did not. Oh my God, I'm like, these kids are crazy. Like, I remember being that young, and like kids. Like, especially when they're together and they're all like, they all get this idea in their heads that they're going to do something, and then they do it. And it's like, holy shit, this is happening.
Well, because they tie her up on the tree because they were going to like hang her, but like it didn't work. So they're like, let's burn her.
Yeah. And then it escalates and she puts that, she grabs that lighter and everyone's like, is this really happening? And I was like, okay. Yeah. I mean, it was really cool that Ziggy totally elbowed her straight in the face. She's like, well, I guess we're even. Her sarcasm and her attitude throughout the whole film is perfect. She acts and does that part so well. But I also think, just touching on you saying that you didn't like people's actings, I thought that everyone who had the part that they had for the most part. I think that everybody played the role that they were supposed to play in the movie really fucking good. Like, I might not have necessarily liked all the characters or the way that their character was written, but the way that everybody that was cast in the film played, for the most part, I can't think of anybody right now. I think everybody knocked it out of the park as far as the acting community was. I think everybody did their part really well.
I don't know. Especially Alice, I feel like there's just some people I felt they tried a little too hard, and you could tell, like, that is not them. That is not... They almost, like, remade who they were. Or maybe just... I don't know. I don't know. I don't know completely. Like, everyone's... You have your opinion, which is awesome. I personally did not think that everyone did that good of acting. There's some people that did better, and there's some people, like, have changed throughout the film. But there was just some, I don't know. I felt forced. I felt like they were forcing their character, and they felt awkward trying to do this character. And Alice being one of the big ones.
I did want to say, though, that, you know, in case for some reason you're still listening to this and you haven't seen the movie yet, all the kids were calling Ziggy a witch and saying that, you know, she's possessed by Sarah Fierce. And that's pretty much where all this is revolving around, is these kids like giving her a hard time, saying that she's one of the ones that are possessed.
Are these kids from Southside?
I think that those kids are from Sunnyside.
Because the reason why I ask, again, we're going to jump far up here. We're going to go back again, but I just want to jump forward real fast because for some reason I feel like I only noticed Tommy, the axe killer, was only going after the Southside kids.
He was only going. I mean, if someone got in the way, you know, like Nick got in the way at one point and got his leg cut open, but he left him alone because obviously he was able to go back later.
I didn't get that until the second watch. But did Sheila? How did she die again?
We don't see Sheila die. The last time we see Sheila is when she gets knocked the fuck out.
How does she get knocked out? Why am I forgetting this? I literally just watched this.
She gets knocked out because of when Tommy's going on his rampage, and they're like, "Oh shit, we forgot about Sheila." So she goes back to check on her, and then Sheila's not in the stall, and then they're fighting, and that's when Cindy and Alice are underneath, and that's when they hear them, and that's when she knocks her ass out. The other camper with like curly hair comes in, and then that's when Tommy messes him up.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think that we see what happens to... I think that we totally just forget about...
Well, then that's... Okay, so then they are only killing... Okay, I did not know that until the second time. That's even more interesting to me. That's cool.
Yeah, they definitely stayed on point with that, opposed to the first one where it didn't make sense why the killer was killing some people that they were and wasn't killing people when they were.
Did you notice this the first time you watched it?
I did.
Okay.
Only because they pointed it out. They literally said it in the movie.
Shut the fuck up. Did they really? When?
Yeah. He said he's killing Shadysiders.
Oh, well, see, I don't pay attention. Thank God that Joe's here.
So, yeah, they get caught by Kurt and Nick is like yelling and saying, "I'll tell mom," or "I'll tell dad," or whatever the hell he said. It's
so dumb.
You're like, okay, so it's kids watching kids is what's going on here pretty much.
That's what camp is.
I was kind of feeling weird of like how old is Nick opposed to how old is Ziggy, especially when he was like, hey, you know that she's a camper, right? And I was like, what is that insinuating?
Yeah.
Like, other than the fact that obviously she is a camper and he's one of the guys.
Like a teacher-student thing.
I was right. I was like, I wonder how old that he actually is in comparison to her, but that gets pushed aside. But let's travel back in time where Nick and Kurt save the day, kind of. But Kurt's super pissed, and he's like flexing on Ziggy and saying pretty much that he's tired of her shit and says, you're done. Like, we're sick of you. Just get out. We can't take your shit anymore.
What's crazy to me is the fact that these people were about to, like, kill Ziggy.
I know, right?
And they like... But Ziggy's the one who gets kicked out because she steals a few bucks and maybe did some spray paint, did some bad things, yeah, whatever, which is fine. But she's like, oh, well...
It's that Sunnyside privilege.
Yeah. Ugh.
It's that Sunnyside privilege.
God, so I'll deal with them. But you're out. It's like...
But Nick's like, well, what if Tommy finds out about the burn on her arm? So that was a nice little... quick, like, hey, let me think on my feet to be able to get her to stay real quick.
Yeah, so we get to actually see like different shots throughout the camp, and just a little side note that this camp, or at least parts of it, were filmed at the same location that Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, was filmed at, which is very interesting to me. I didn't know that until the second watch, before the second watch. I did not know it the first watch around. And then I think I looked it up or something, somebody, one of the pages I follow on Facebook were like, yeah, this was filmed. And I was like, oh, what?
Yeah.
So, because I love that movie too, so.
Did you notice that they did the same shots again in the end when they were kind of looking over the camp, but everything was just different because all that shit just happened?
No, I didn't pick that up. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, at the very end, the first shot they do is from the cabin where they have all the bodies lined up in front of the camp, or in front of the cabin, and then they go back to showing the same kind of shots that they showed in the beginning, but it's darker and everything just looks gloomier and shittier.
Okay. Did you count how many bodies were there, by the way?
No, I couldn't. I didn't pause it. I was running short on time.
I think, what did I count? 11? I mean, and I don't even know if that's all of them.
They were pretty good about that too, like, the whole killing kids factor, but they were still making it effective when they were killing the kids without showing them killing the kids and only showing them killing the older.
Yeah, when we start getting to that, we'll go into more detail. But I agree. I'll expand on my opinions on that too when we get to that.
I laughed so hard when that guy was like, "Everybody get a shirt here, get a shirt. Do you have a shirt? Do you want a shirt?" Like like his voice he's like, "Everybody want a shirt?" And there was like one person in front, "Do you want a shirt? Would you like a shirt? Would you like a shirt?"
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
That made me laugh.
And then they threw that shirt, that, what's her name? Sheila girl throws was it Sheila that threw the shirt?
No, that was that hippie girl that I didn't get her name. Oh, it was Joan. Now we meet Cindy, the sister of Ziggy, who the story starts out by Ziggy saying that, this is the day that my sister died.
Oh, which is so cool. Her and Tommy, which is Cindy's boyfriend. Tommy and Cindy are both in the outhouse cleaning the toilets, cleaning this red moss off the side. They're scrubbing it.
This looks gross.
It's weird. It's weird. That's all I got to say. I don't like the moss later. I don't like it. It's annoying. I don't know why it's annoying to me. Just that moss there wasn't too bad, but when we get down to the caves, which I'll explain, there's a part where I was like, oh, this moss should have been at least a little different. Okay.
It looked like shit that you would put in a happy birthday bag for someone's present, and they just dumped it out.
Yes, it's too staged. It looked way too staged.
Yeah, when she was looking for Satan's stone or whatever the fuck it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's exactly my point where I was like, it was just too loose and they were making rip sounds, although it was just flopping around. I'm like, that's not ripping. That's just floppy. But anyway, so they're in this outhouse cleaning, and Cindy gets a little of that moss on her shirt and this polo. She starts freaking out because this polo is really important. She's trying to become somebody she's not, I guess, or just trying to change who everyone thinks that she is, and she doesn't want to be known as
she's like, if I do good, if I act good, if I buy nice clothes, take care of myself, I'll go somewhere with my life, and I won't get stuck in Shadyside and die.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I don't love it, but I don't like how she freaks out, but
yeah,
I do appreciate how she's trying to change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it was just all right, calm down. But that's, again, before I knew exactly why about the shirt and how she worked so much just to get a shirt like this. And
because my first thoughts is, oh god, someone who makes a big deal about everything, save me.
Yeah, and she did, and she kind of did, and I was like, oh, there's moments you'll see where I'm just like,
Tommy seems like a really nice guy, though. I liked their chemistry together. I liked them as a unit.
So Tommy and her, they kiss and stuff, and before I get too far, Tommy, his yellow shirt that he's wearing.
I didn't really I noticed it, but didn't pay attention to it.
I didn't get the chance to read it, but it's I see it's some guy skiing. But what's neat is I was talking about this episode before we filmed at work, and this new girl that started, her name's Leo. She, we were talking about this movie, and she was actually telling me, because she used to live in Georgia, probably I guess around the time they were filming this, and she worked at the screen printing place, and she actually screen printed that shirt.
Oh, that's so cool.
So Yeah, I thought that was super neat. So, and the fact that he wears it throughout the whole movie, it's very prominent. And just to give her a little shout out, because she also does a lot of like horror movie artwork and stuff like that. I think they're like on skateboards and different things. But check out her Instagram and look at all the different stuff that she does, because she does a lot of different like artwork and things. And you can check her at Leo Ghost on Instagram. And it's spelled, the O's are actually zeros, so it's LE0 GH0ST.
All right, Leo Ghost, I'm going to be checking you out. I'm going to be checking out your stuff. That's some cool stuff, and only some cool insider information that you would only receive from none other than Don't Spill the Popcorn.
Yes.
Insider info. So she kind of abruptly stops, Cindy does. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a scary moment. It doesn't seem like it's just like she remembers out of nowhere. So she goes in and we meet Alice and Archie. And oh my goodness, like my impression of them is like, oh God, definitely. I mean, I was definitely like, holy shit, because they were just like
sex machines.
They were going to town. And then, they quickly finish up and address Cindy. And she just pretty much addresses Cindy throughout the whole movie as being the snitch. So then you kind of start to feel like, oh, maybe Cindy's not so great after all. Maybe there's a reason why she's trying to come off as so good, because she feels guilty about some things.
Well, first off, I think it's weird that Cindy was just like randomly all of a sudden just was like, where are these guys at, when they were supposed to be cleaning the outhouse too? And it's like, you guys were in a very small, tight, confined place. Like, you would have known that they were in there or not in there, which whatever. So like you said, we see them having sex, and then they start to smoke a joint. Cindy freaks out and stuff, and Alice and Archie are trying to convince Cindy into like getting them like certain drugs so that they're willing to like clean the outhouse, I guess.
They were definitely mean, and they did not give a single shit. So then Cindy goes outside, and there's Kurt, and he just does like the funniest. Cindy Berman, you better tell me that that's a skunk that I'm smelling right now. I'm like, Jesus Christ. The whole movie, dude, I'm like, wow, this guy definitely doesn't like weed.
Yeah, so Ziggy wants to get her arm cleaned up, I guess, even though she just kind of wants it to kill her. She's like, maybe I'll just let it get infected and kill me. But she goes to the nurse, she's kind of like buddies with, but this nurse is a little weird, a little creepy, and which we'll find out. Yeah, she seems like she's on something, or just have seen some things. The nurse doesn't seem to be found when Ziggy gets into that area, into the nurse's station, whatever you want to call it. The infirmary is what they called it. Ziggy goes into the office and sees a book on her desk, and it shows Ruby Lane on the left side, and it shows like a witch's mark on the right side, the round witch's mark, which you'll see later. And then, what are you doing?
Which scared me. It did.
Freaks out. The nurse comes in. It did, yeah. The nurse comes over and starts to wrap Ziggy's arm up and puts a little cream on there and starts telling the story about her daughter who has died, which her name is Ruby Lane, which we find out is actually that creepy girl that sings and has that switchblade, and she killed 7 people and then herself, which would make 8 people. And that's why she's all like upset, and she's like going off on a tangent, wrapping Ziggy's arm really hard.
I felt awkward for her.
Dude, me too. I'm like, when is she going to be done?
Like, I was like, ooh, like, I feel so bad for you, but I don't want to be talking about this with you. Especially because you look all oily and sweaty, and you look like you've been up all night trying to figure out what you're going to do to do something about this shit. Like, literally, we're talking about a woman who spends her nights digging holes in the ground trying to figure out where Sarah Fear's hand is.
Wait, so she's the one who's digging these holes then?
Yeah.
Is she the one that went down the cave too and like lit all the candles and shit too?
They would be lit because of her, because the last place that she went before she killed Tommy must have been there because she saw Tommy's name on the stone.
Oh my God. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Cool. All right. Yeah. Nice. Thanks for that breakdown, bud. Because actually,
you're welcome.
Putting those like 2 and 2 togethers equal 4s, I was equaling 5 and I wasn't getting it, but now I get it.
The music starts intensifying, and the nurse Lane is talking, and she's kind of explaining that all of these dark and gruesome things, and it's just building up and building up and building up, and you're just like, oh my God, like, Ziggy's like, hey, like you can stop. This is getting a little tight, and she's just saying stuff like, sometimes murder is necessary, sometimes murder is good, and she kind of snaps out of it, and Cindy happens to show up, and she's ready to tear Ziggy a new asshole. So luckily, Cindy showed up and kind of helped Nurse Lane snap out of it. She was all part of the everything calming down, and Ziggy's okay, but you can definitely see that Nurse Lane is totally messed up, and she's got some shit going on. She's carrying some demons, and it seems like she maybe should have decided not to be the camp nurse this year, but I can see why that's probably the only reason why she is the nurse. So when Cindy pulls Ziggy out of there, Ziggy's like, hey, what's going on with the nurse? And Cindy's like too irritated about Ziggy getting in trouble and totally disregards what's going on with the nurse. Doesn't care at all, doesn't pay attention. And she just kind of is like trying to explain to Ziggy, hey, we can't get kicked out. Like, Mom will not be able to go to work and be able to take care of you. Even though I feel like, obviously, if she's able to be at a camp like this, like, why wouldn't she be able to just be able to be home while Mom's working? So I thought that was not a very good explanation in the script there.
Only because maybe she's a problem child and she needs to be watched, so she's not like running around doing this and that.
Maybe. Okay, so yeah, maybe Mom feels like she has to be home to watch her because she's fucking around too much, but that's just speculation. So Cindy goes on to, she's like, hey, I'm trying to go into college, and Ziggy thinks that it's a big old joke, and that she just keeps on saying to her, like, quit being a fake. You're just joking. You're just kidding yourself. You're just being a fake. You're never going to get out. Nobody in Shadyside ever gets out. So just be yourself and stop fucking around, pretty much is what she's getting at. And then now is when we go back to Cindy scrubbing furiously, talking to Tommy, and she breaks the sponge, and she's like, shit! And Tommy's like, oh, you never swear. You just swore. And she's like, not now, Tommy. And she's just ranting about her sister, pretty much, is all that was. She walks away to chill, and she goes downstairs, and she's just kind of like trying to relax. She's chilling out, and she's looking through this... she's looking through some stuff down there, and whoosh, in front of the camera goes somebody, and you're like, oh, what the fuck? Who is this? What's going on here? And the music kind of gets suspicious and creepy, and she goes upstairs, and it's really quiet where she just was scrubbing. There's no music, Tommy's not in there, nothing, and it's just super fucking creepy. And she's like, okay, Tommy, now you're really creeping me out. And Tommy kind of pops out of nowhere. He's like, hey, what's going on? Is everything okay? And out of nowhere, here comes Nurse Lane, looking totally crazy in the eyes. And she's trying to explain to Tommy, he's like, hey, you're going to die tonight no matter what. And I'm going to fucking take you out before you take everybody out. Your name's on the stone. And fucking just goes after him. Tries to stab him. Cindy's like just sitting there totally frozen. Comes at him hard as fuck. He knocks the knife out of her hand. He ends up bashing her head off of something else, pushing her real good, but he ends up getting hit pretty hard himself. And it was funny because the song that plays after is, the first cut is the deepest. The first cut is the deepest.
Yep, that's not what I was expecting, and I was kind of happy that it was.
I saw your name. I saw your name.
The officer that comes over and like talks to Cindy and stuff, and Ziggy's there, right? Cindy and Ziggy are both there, and for some reason, I guess because Cindy was there and she's seen what happened, she's asking these questions to this cop, and this cop's just like, well, she's just crazy, just like her daughter. Like, that was the only, like, they didn't care, they didn't like go into more detail, they just assumed that she was just like her daughter, which again, because they were Southside.
And then Sheila, of course, just putting the cherry on top, coming over and saying, oh, I'm sorry to hear about your nurse psycho. Like, fuck you, Sheila. She's, hurry up, witch. Run, witch. Because she told him that, oh, you might want to check your stuff.
Oh, and it's so annoying when she goes back there. Which, after she tells her to go run and, like, look into her room, we have Don't Fear the Reaper starts.
Beautiful song. Yeah, Blue Oyster Cult.
We get to the cabin. We're all at, like, first the bell rings. Everyone like rushes into, like everything's just like, oh, normal.
Yeah, just everyone just sitting there staring at the ambulance. Ambulance drives away. bell rings, everyone's like, oh, back to normal. And it just runs back in. Did you notice, though, when that one cop was talking to Nick, that Nick just kind of really seemed like he didn't want to be a cop? Did you notice that at that moment?
I felt like he just didn't want to do a lot of things. I felt like he was also trying to be somebody he wasn't, where he felt like he needed to stay on the south side or the sunny side of things, and everyone's like, making him feel that way, and that's what I thought more, less cop thing. We follow, like, kids are talking about what happened to the nurse and everything, and the camera goes to the front of the cabin, and we see Kurt, and he's all excited. He comes in and he gets this flag, and he's pretty much explaining this color war between Sunnyside and Southside, and their first game that they're gonna play is none other than Capture the Flag. And he really tries to build them up to it.
Hell yeah. Such a good game.
But he's pretty much like...
Yeah, he got a little intense, though. He's like, we're gonna murder Shadyside witches. I was like, God damn. It's just a camp. A bunch of kids, man. Did you notice that they were way outnumbered in there? Like, there was so many Sunnyside or Sunnyvale or whatever the fuck it's called people. And there were like a few Shadyside people trickled in. Like there was like one table at Shadyside and just a little bit of, like, it seemed like he was talking to a room of all of his people. There was no Shadyside people even in there, really.
And that's why I thought it was bullshit that he was even able to talk. Like, I feel like we needed to have a middleman, middle woman, whoever. We needed to have a middle person to say, this is capture the flag, color war, capture the flag, and both people have a chance to win, instead of like the talker being on Sunnyside, being on the blue side, and just like, come on, you're building up the blue.
Up, you're all beautiful.
Yeah,
everybody's great. Everyone's a winner.
And that
you're all gonna be perfect.
That speech was just rad, or whatever she said. That speech was just something 70s sounding. And
when she looks at and that's the thing too, is she was like the only one who talked or acted like that.
I know, right?
She looked at Kurt. That's what it seemed kind of out of place, because she was like acting like, I don't know, like it was just some outsider thing that some people act like that, and that wasn't like an actual stereotype that most people were like, hey man, which makes sense. But yeah. It was funny when she was like, he's dumb but shagadelic. And then the other guy was like, he's disgusting. You're disgusting.
Yeah, like the guy Gary, he plays on Halloween, the Halloween 2018 movie. We go from the color thing, and then we have Ziggy walking with the gallon of paint in her hands. By the way, she's swinging this gallon of paint like there's nothing in there. Yeah, there's definitely no paint in this. I'm telling you that right now. So she's walking with this paint can, and then I think it's her sister who comes up to her, and then she explains, and that's when she like pretty much just talking shit. And because she's explaining like dad left and mother started drinking, and she's just being really cruel to her sister, and pretty much was like, yeah, your life is gonna come crashing down pretty much.
Yeah, they walk over there. Gets dark. She gets dark with her real quick.
Yeah, she's being rude, and then kind of making her sister cry a little bit. And that's when I felt bad for Cindy, and pretty much was like, it's not cruel if it's true. And she said something about like, you're a monster or whatever. And then she's like, yep. And she shows them the wall full of, she's a witch, and one of the things on the wall says that Ziggy sucks cocks in hell, which is also a reference to The Exorcist. They say that.
Carry on my wayward son.
There'll be peace when
you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more.
So it kicks off with that fantastic Kansas song, and they're prepping for the color war. So you're seeing everybody getting ready. It seems really exciting. It's getting like those fun vibes where it's like things aren't calm. There's some cool, fun shit happening. Everybody's getting pumped. This is the best part of the day. And it kind of pans over to where Tommy is getting the Shadysiders all pumped and ready. And in the middle of prepping them, this is the first time where we see him zone out and just kind of get real dizzy and spinny. after his interaction with Nurse Lane.
Come on. I feel like if he's feeling like this, like, which happens multiple times throughout this film about his head and his dizziness, like, go to the hospital.
So
like,
much.
Outside of the witch situation, I would have just thought that he's got a concussion super bad and he's still bleeding pretty much. So go to the hospital.
Yeah, this could have been a great movie of a ripoff of Michael Myers killing a bunch of people in the hospital.
Yeah, honestly, it really could have. I mean, that's a perfect.
And then coming back to the camp, they could have had a whole extra scene in there that would have been so fucking.
Oh yeah. Ooh, I like that so much better. That would have been so cool.
Nobody would have saw it coming. But then I don't know how it would have followed up. But still, it's a cool idea.
Well, it would have been, you would have cut out some of the background stories of some of these people that we really didn't need to hear about. There's a lot. That's one thing I will say about this movie is I know sometimes we miss background or backstories for people, and like that's where you don't feel a connection. But I feel like there's a little bit too much of that in this one. There's so many characters, and I was just like, it's taking too long to get to the point. We could have had a lot more things going on. I think that's where this film kind of failed in situations for some people. Maybe not necessarily me, because I can get past that, and I don't mind hearing a little bit more from people. But if you can put something else in that place of that, like more, like you said, like him going to the hospital and doing a few. But I guess at the same time, they did that in 1994 movie, the first part.
So at this point, Sydney just needs answers. She just seems to be the kind of person that there needs to be a logical explanation as to why A went to B. So she has Tommy bring the keys to the infirmary to look for those answers. And she's just determined. She seems very, very determined to find out that things happen. And she finds this one little pill bottle that doesn't have anything on it. And so I thought it was kind of stupid that, she was immediately like, oh, this must be it. This must be it. It has to be it.
That was the one and only. Yeah, that's the one.
But Tommy noted, because he's the one in his head, like, he's thinking he already knows that this is definitely more than just some stupid drug-ridden shit. Like, he's definitely got some other thoughts going on in his head. And when he sees the book, that starts kind of confirming his way of thinking. Then you get a broken glass noise, and Tommy looks over.
Alice and Archie were coming into there to get the drugs that they wanted that Cindy was saying no to them about. And then Archie was just like, oh, I didn't know you did that stuff. Because she's like, it's not for you guys. And then she puts it in her bag. She's like, oh, I didn't know you did that stuff. And she's like, it's not for me either. And
they're just picking and prodding and poking fun. And they're like, give us the drugs.
At this point, this is when things start to get a little bit more like picking up. I mean, yes, we got that like that fight with Nurse Lane and Tommy, which was good. But now this is where like things are like the deep story is getting unraveled and things are actually happening. So they all four of them decide to go to the witch's house because they find that witch's book on the desk with the information. Yeah. And so they go. And then you have Alice again, who's being like, she's a bitch. She's a bitch to them in the woods. Like, okay, go home.
So, yeah, they take the bag and the book, and this is pretty much what kicks off to what leads into the rest of how this movie kind of pans out for everybody.
Then they find when Archie's taking a piss, which I didn't realize the first time around what he was looking at, but he's peeing against his tree, looks around the tree, and he sees the entrance into the ground, into the caves for the witch's house.
Nick ends up going to see Ziggy again. He pretty much is just coming back to offer help. It's more of like a relationship building moment. I thought that they had some pretty good chemistry as well. I thought that the relationship that they were building and him kind of putting other things aside, noticing that, she is kind of troubled, and, not only did he genuinely seem like he wanted to help her, but in the midst of all that too, he seemed like he was kind of falling for that crazy little Shadyside girl.
I mean, I didn't mind their chemistry, and I think Nick was a lot better in this one than the Office Nick is.
We get brought back to the woods, and Alice does this like grunt, and I was like, "Oh, that's not a scream. Like, what's going on? Like, why?" She's like, "Ugh." It turned out that she fell into one of the graves that Nurse Lane had been digging. But I was just gonna say, there's no house. There's no house, and how did he even see that little hole in the ground? I looked so hard. I paused it, And I fucking looked, and I'm like, okay, what is he seeing? And even if he walked over there a little bit, what is he seeing? Yeah, I found her house. There's no house. There's nothing for you to see. It's dark as hell. So that was kind of bullshit to me. And of course, like, Alice is mocking Sarah the whole time, and it's like, Sarah, you got some candy? I'm high and hungry. And I felt like that was kind of horror-y stuff.
She yelled way too much. Like, she's like yelling in that whole, like, just irritated me. Like, why are you yelling in this whole, like, that? Like, just all the time. She's just always yelling. She's like, Sarah, it's a witch.
We talked about how they noticed the candles were all lit. And through this whole time, like, they just keep referencing, like, Tommy being like, oh, my head, or I'm dizzy. And, like, honestly, it would have been so much more scary if they didn't keep acknowledging that something was wrong with him. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we just get to the point where here we are now with that little fly buzzing around. And when you hear that fly before you see Tommy, you're like, oh, I remember that fucking fly. Especially after you said the flies and I didn't recognize them that much in the first one. Once I heard that buzzing, I'm like, oh no, it's happening right now. Yeah, for sure.
You definitely recognized a lot more of this one. Like, it was more prominent throughout.
Oh my God, dude.
On him.
This was definitely, in my opinion, the most, like, brutal looking shot in the film. When Tommy just totally axes Archie in the face, and then that flashlight goes in Archie's face, and you see him slice into it with the exposure on his face too, and the detail of, like, his face split and all that, and then just laying there with his... Oh my God, dude. Whoa.
I will tell you, when he first hits, in my note at least, when he first hits him, I was just like, The visual effects was, I mean, it was good. Like, I still enjoyed it, but I felt like it was, like, not there enough. But after the first hit, all of the other parts of him hitting him again and, like, his dead body laying there, chef's kiss. It was great. It looked awesome. It looked brutal. And I would be so fucked up if I seen that.
Before that, Cindy was looking through a few things, and she happened to find another hole. So just as they were walking out conveniently, that's when it happened to Archie. And they hurry up and they scurry through that hole, running for their fucking life. And Tommy grabs Cindy. But Cindy is, at this point, starting to look more like a badass, because as much as she said that she was never going to kill or fight back, she's pretty strong and she's pretty aggressive, and she fucking kicks the shit out of him. The whole hole ends up collapsing, and they sit in there in quiet. And this was one of my favorite moments in the movie, where everything was quiet, and you just hear him just...
It's too much, though. It was way too loud. It was way too loud.
It was too loud. It was definitely too loud, but I still... If they would have fixed that up a little bit, because they continued on when Tommy is following Nick and Ziggy later, and that's just kind of his thing, where he's just breathing. And I just wish that they didn't over-exaggerate the sound so much, and you could still hear it, and you could still get those low, like, grumbling frequencies, without it just seeming like he's just like... like me right now in front of the microphone, just doing his voiceover, like... How's this? Is this pretty good?
Ew, now you just sound sexual. Ew, that hurt. That's like my virgin ears. The breathing and just like his footsteps were also pretty loud when it came to that. And I think that had to do something with like the whole Friday the 13th Jason or 1978's Michael Myers, with like the whole breathing, like Michael Myers breathed like that because of the mask was on his face, so like it made that extra noise. The loud footsteps, that's kind of like a Jason thing to make him seem more menacing and big. I think Michael Myers did it too, but I think that was just the additive, and that's why they did that for him, for his character. But again, I think at least the footsteps I could forgive for sure. The breathing was just a little too loud for me, but appreciated it. We have a few deaths that happen outside by Tommy. Tommy gets out of the caves, and the first one is the little kid. He seems really sweet, but he has the three Sunnyside kids, or a couple Sunnyside kids. They eventually get loose because they're still playing capture the flag, and they throw eggs at his face. Well, when in the doorway, we see Tommy standing there, and he's just like, Tommy, and he runs up to him, and that's when we first get our first kid kill in this movie that we see, and it was like insane because one, the kid was like a good kid. Like, it would not be a kid. For one, you don't see kid deaths, but also he was a good kid. You know what I mean? You don't ever see that. He would have been never dead in like any other film.
Especially, the last words that he heard was, "Shut the fuck up, nerd." And then he died.
I know. Damn it. But I love that the movie did it. I loved it so much.
Cindy realizes that when she tries to leave, that it's a maze that they're in, and that's actually the when they say that, the soil made this, that when they do that witch's circle, that the soil underground becomes like the circle, and it actually made this giant maze that now they use that to figure out.
Ziggy and Nick have a little moment in like the cabin when they're trying to like gather up all the kids because they realize that there's this killer coming. Because the kids come across the little boy that was just murdered, and so they like send off the alarms and tell all the kids or whatever to go to this cabin, and Ziggy and Nick are in this cabin, and she's like trying to go out with Nick, and Nick's like, no, you're staying here. I'm not going to let anybody hurt you. And then everyone's looking at them in disgust, like, what the hell's going on with these two? Alice and Cindy are in this cave stuck now, and they hear this like thumping, and they find this like giant heart thing full of flies and black gooey shit or black or red shit on the wall, whatever it is. And I thought the heart was stupid. I thought like it took me out of the movie. Like that was one thing where I was like, it was just, yeah. I'm like, oh, well, I wasn't expecting that. Like that kind of sucks. But then Alice touches the heart and she sees all this shit that happens. She goes crazy. She starts seeing all these like ghosts and like she starts seeing all these dead people and she starts to run away because she also sees Cindy. Yeah, and it was creepy. So she runs and she like falls and she gets like this compound fracture. Like this bone is sticking out of her leg. Gnarly. And then Cindy eventually gets back, catches back up with Alice and they try to, fix it. Yeah, because they were fighting for a minute there and they were like running around. They found out they were like in a loop, this circle, right before that. But now Cindy's trying to help and she's trying to wrap her leg and using like a brush and like a pad and stuff like that. And by the way, she would be passing out by that pain.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That should have been just absolutely enormously terrible. But it did say something that Cindy ripped a little piece of her shirt off. That shirt that she loved so much to help take care of her. So I thought that was a little nice add-on that they did.
Yes, she did. And because at that point, she didn't care.
Yeah, and Alice believes now, for sure. If I don't see why you wouldn't at this point, but Alice definitely believes. And if anything, she seemed like she kind of believed more than anybody and was just kind of like goofing along with it. But the more that she started to realize, it's like she seemed to come to quicker than everybody else of the realization of, oh, this shit might actually be real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so their time gets interrupted when they hear screams when everybody realizes and find that poor kid when he dies. And so that breaks everything up and the mood changes across the entire camp. Everybody gets together, like you said, and that is when Nick was like, hey, I'm not going to let anything happen to you. I will not absolutely let anything happen to you and stay here. So Nick leaves and he goes searching for more people, but then all of a sudden Ziggy remembers, fuck, we forgot about Sheila. God damn it. And I honestly forgot about Sheila too. I'm not going to lie.
So Ziggy like writes a note and like tricks Sheila into going into the bathroom stall because she thinks it's like going to be like her boyfriend or her like, or the guy that she likes, whatever, to have like some sex time or something. And there's like flowers on the ground and some candles in there, just to find out that there is a bucket full of bugs above her and it crashes down on top of her and all these bugs, including like tarantulas and cockroaches, are all over Sheila. And she starts screaming and Ziggy and Nick lock her into that bathroom. And that's like a little that's a little Carrie thing, but instead of like the fake blood, it's instead of real blood or whatever they did in the movie, it is bugs.
Yeah, so Joan and Kurt are getting it on and you see some male booty scratching that booty, and then she lights up a joint and Kurt's just like, nah, weed, put it out, freaking out again.
So after Joan puts the joint out, she walks out to like the door, somewhere like the front door area, and it's open. But the way she like looks, the way it's shot, it's very reminiscent to the first Friday the 13th movie, but it's played out differently after this part. So Joan turns around and that's when we see Tommy right there, and he like axes her like face in her chest. And in the original Friday the 13th film, when the girl would turn around, she gets axed, but it's just in her face, just in her head, one shot. But so that was cool that they kind of like threw that in there. I don't know if it was intentional, but to me it felt like that at first. So that's the next death we get.
And so Tommy just pretty much continues throughout this movie to go on this awesome onslaught where I definitely, one thing about this movie opposed to the last movie was I enjoyed the kills. For the most part, I enjoyed him killing people and how he killed them and how they showed them being killed and just the scenarios and how they squeezed them in between all these little random events. So pretty much to wrap up everything about Tommy, I really enjoyed getting a little bit more of Nightwing like we were wondering from the first movie if we were going to get more of this killer. And now getting this much of this killer, I actually wish that we could have got a little bit more of just the Skull Killer in the last episode before we got all of the killers going on in that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, but I still think, in my opinion, I still like the Skull Killer better than this killer, especially in this film, only because, yes, I get the fact, like, he still looks creepy with just his blood on his face and everything, but I liked him better with the sack, which we only really get at the end. So we get more of him with the sack face in the first
That was
one.
really dramatic, though.
Yeah.
When I loved that moment, though.
Yeah.
That was especially like the like these four walls moment where he's looking down at her
with the mask thing. Yeah, that was creepy.
That was cool.
That was definitely when it was like, ooh, but that's when he pretty much dies like right away after that. So it's just like, ugh. But going back, yeah, so he kills 3 more kids, which was awesome. And that was caught off screen and you see the match.
Oh yeah, that shot was so awesome. Just let it sit there for a while, had the light go out from the match, and just heard like these nasty sounds, just getting slaughtered.
As you heard the kids dying, and yeah, that was so cool.
That's what I was hoping would happen in Army of the Dead when what's his nuts got thrown into the safe and Ludwig was getting all fucked up by the Alpha. That's what I was hoping would happen there. That same exact kind of thing.
Yeah, I know exactly after. Yeah, that would have been cool. That would have been a better, like I was saying in the first podcast, that would have been the best way to have done that situation. I liked what you said there.
Yeah, so Cindy and Alice come upon the moss and they realize, oh shit, that moss was in the outhouse. So they follow this moss and they get to the moss there. And it just so happens that right at the same time when they're under that moss, that is when upstairs Sheila is fighting with Ziggy. And all of this is to say that this is right after Ziggy knocks out Sheila, and they hear her yelling down there, and she peeks her head down, and she's like, oh my God, Cindy. And then she's like, I'll be back. So Gary comes in, and he helps Ziggy use the bucket that she used to prank Selena to get her sister and Alice back up out of the thing. But of course, not too long in the middle of using all the strength they have to pull Alice up, here comes Tommy to mess them on up real good. Just totally slices and dices, and she gets out of there barely.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Well, first off, when she lowers that bucket in there, just a real quick thing, that's like a Goonies reference, I think, where like they put the bucket down into like the well. But anyways, I digress. So Gary's, trying to help him, which I feel like that would have been very impossible to have helped her up the way they were, like wrapping it around them. But he cuts his damn head off, and his body goes flying into that toilet.
Yeah, and his body goes down
and lands right on. Well, first, Jesus. So Alice already falls on her already broken leg, and then
on her fucking broken ankle.
Gary falls from however high on top of her leg again. It's like, gosh, her leg can't win.
I was freaking out for her though when she's screaming, "Get him off! Get him off!" I was like, "Oh my God, yes, get him off!" Like, that's fucked up. Decapitated, heavy ass body.
I was not expecting. Yeah, that's creepy. Decapitation always freaks me out for some reason. Like just the ooh, like it's like you almost like lost your personality, like your look, who you were, just by that. Even though you're dead, but like it freaks me out every time.
Yeah. So Kurt and Nick meet up. Kurt's freaking out. He doesn't know what's going on. Thinks for a second that Nick did it because he's got blood on his hands because he found the spot where all the other kids were just killed. And he's just like, listen, like just grabs Kurt by the neck. He's like, these are the things you're going to do. Get the bus, get the kids, get the fuck out of here. Pushes them, gets them out of there. So he goes, he gathers all the kids and everything, makes a quick plan real quick. So it's, Nick's kind of showing like his future capabilities of maybe being a cop someday by just thinking on his feet like that and being like, this is how things are going to get done.
And so she goes to run towards the bus, which the bus already starts to leave, and she can't get to it. When I say she, I'm sorry. Ziggy runs to the bus, and the bus leaves, and she couldn't get to it. And that's when we see Tommy at the front entrance walking really quick towards Ziggy, leaving her no other option but to run back into the camp.
Was Ziggy alone at first, and Nick ends up meeting up with her?
She was, and then then she pretty much was like, "You need to run. He's coming after us."
Yep, and says that they're gonna start their Judy Blume book club.
And then that's when they hide in the one cabin with all like the lizards and snakes and all that stuff.
Yeah. Everybody likes Stephen King, so that was that was a thing.
Yep, because they're like, I'm done with Stephen King. They don't want to read any more Stephen King after all this.
And then, of course, lo and behold, Tommy arrives, used the snake to his advantage so that he could use the serpent to find them. They double back, and Ziggy gets pulled up by her hair just like Kate did.
But that's when Nick steps in and grabs her and helps her real quick, and Tommy stabs his leg, the back of his leg. Axed.
Just tells her to go, that she runs out, misses the bus. Very sadly. I remember very many times of me missing the bus. I'm just glad it's not in this situation.
Or my car when you didn't come outside fast enough, so I left your ass.
Yeah, even your car. There was a few times where I saw you drive away. That's how close I was to making it.
But it wasn't close. I just waited a really long time after I should have. And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. There's been a time where I've already seen Joe come out, and I was like, nah, I'm not turning around anymore. I'm going.
Yep. Alice is alone and tells Cindy to go off and try to figure out another way to get out of there. While Alice is sticking around, this is when you said that you kind of feel some way about all the fuzzy moss that's going on in there. It just looks fake. Anything else that you had to say about that?
No, not really. I mean, it just looks fake. The sound effects were weird when she was lifting it, but that's it. I just thought the moss was a little weird. A little stagey looking.
Yeah, so Alice remembers a part that she read from the book when her nose starts bleeding and she knows that Sarah Fear is near, and she starts putting the pieces together and realizes, oh, this might be Satan's stone. This might be where the hand is, and she just so happens to be lucky enough to find the hand. But what I do not understand is how she had the strength or the ability to get her broken ass all the way up there, to even also stand up there and seem kind of perfectly fine while she's interacting, up until the point where it was time to leave.
Absolutely. It was so annoying. I have that in my notes too. It's just like, you wouldn't have been able to catch up. You wouldn't have been able to get out of there, nor stand like it was normal. Like I think she bounced around in a circle too.
Cindy finds the grate that goes up to the hall, and it just so happens that Ziggy is landing in the same place that her sister is. Is this where they play Carry On My Wayward Son again, real loud?
Yes. So I think to distract them or hide her sounds, and she hides in a closet, and Tommy comes in. So Ziggy's hiding in the closet, and Cindy is in this grate trying to kick it up. And Tommy comes over and starts axing at this door, which is very reminiscent of The Shining. It's shot pretty close to the same. And just like, I think the first movie as well did this. And so every time he's axing, though, we have Cindy kicking the grate at the same time, so no one noticed the noises. And Ziggy's in this closet still hiding, which she's looking through, eventually Tommy gets in and eventually Tommy gets in and Ziggy is like in another part of another closet in the closet or something like that. And she's like looking through like the holes, and a little bit of lights shining through. And that's kind of reminiscent of the original Friday 13th again as well, because somebody does that. They're hiding in a closet while someone's trying to get in. And she, tries to sneak out of the door while Tommy walks past her, and she has this knife in her hand. She raises it, and for some reason, the music like clicks up and stops all of a sudden, and she just stabs him right in the chest. And then as soon as she did that, he hits her back and then starts choking her. And when he's choking her, that shit looks so realistic. Like, she did very good at acting, and I like that they actually look like they were using force, unlike sometimes in movies where they're like barely holding on to someone's neck as they're choking them. It looked good. It looked really good. I was getting nervous for her for a minute.
Yeah, and this is where the badass music comes in, and she puts that bag over his head, and the light's hanging there, and he's looking down. Such a good shot, and that's actually the only screenshot that I can find of this guy on the internet. There's like no other screenshots of him at all. Like, since you don't see him with the bag on his head very much in this one,
yeah,
it seems like most people didn't want to get anything but that.
I mean, the running part was cool too. That was creepy. So then, yeah, Cindy starts stabbing him in the chest. multiple times. I think in the back once, and then the chest a couple times. And that's what ultimately kills him, and he is down for a while.
Yeah, and Ziggy gets a nice little bonding moment with Cindy. They're kind of laughing with each other, and they bond, and she's joking and saying, she smells like shit, and that, it's obviously because she does. And, they kind of broke the ice by saying, oh, you swore. It was also another funny moment, too, when Alice somehow miraculously pulls herself up, and the first thing she says is, oh, hey, snitch. And at that point, she's since it's kind of different, it was actually really funny when she said that. I laughed.
Yeah, but that's when she's starting to stand on her legs, so that's all I could concentrate on. I'm like, what the hell?
I know, so then you're like, but it's bullshit. She reveals to them that she got the hand and they need to bury it. And they're like, oh my God, we're going to save Shadyside. We're about to really do this. This is us. This is our moment.
So that's when Ziggy bleeds onto the hand, and that's when she sees everything. And that's when all the killers awaken. That's when the heart starts beating. And then that's when we get all those creepy people coming out of where they kick the grate open. They're all coming out. And then
this was just, I was like, I actually felt nervous and scared because all of these people that were talked about before, where I was like, ooh, they're so scary. I couldn't imagine. And I'm like, oh no, Tommy's not coming out of that goop. Tommy's still up there. And then they show his finger twitch, and you're like, okay, this is going to be other entities coming out, and it's probably going to be all the old killers. And who's the first one that comes out? Then none other. And I'm like, no. When I heard her sing, yeah, I got chills.
That's so creepy when she's doing that, and she her hand cracks up on the edge and like very ring like.
Those sound effects were loud too, though. I think all of the sound effects and shit were just too loud. So that's a big critique from us then. Sound effects on this one were way too loud.
So then that's when they, Alice is talking or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, it's fine.
She's like, I have a purpose now. I waited my whole life for this.
And that's where her backstory, I'm like, it's a little late for her backstory. I didn't care about it anymore. And then who shows up behind her other than Tommy? He's, back up and walking and fucking stabs her, or axes her right across the chest too. And she bleeds out, looks like it hurts on the, and that's when Cindy comes over and she fucking takes the axe, or I'm sorry, the shovel, and just starts jamming it into his fucking throat and just like, won't you fucking die or something like that? Don't just fucking die.
Badass, right, dude? Wasn't that so badass?
It was. The visual effects were a little rough when the neck first started splitting, but it was very forgivable, and when his head came off, it was excellent. Especially when he was still alive. And tried to grab them even after his head was cut off. That was cool.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he does reach out and grab Cindy's leg real quick, I think. That's wild. So yeah, at this point, it's pretty much go mode. Like, shit is escalating quickly. They got to figure this out. So they're trying to run and hurry up and get to where they think the remains are to put this hand in. So they're hurrying up. They scoot out there. They're getting there. They're digging. They're coming, dude. And the shots, I love camera shots like this where it's like they got this nice open field. There's good depth of field. There's a good center point, and then there's all this room. And all the room just made my anxiety go crazy because the killers took their good old time coming up, getting ready to kill them. And they dig to no avail because all they find is this fucking rock that says Sarah Fears will live forever. And it made my stomach sink so bad because I was like, it's over. And you just got to wait for it to happen.
So Cindy was just like, you can have your hand, just let my sister Ziggy go. And then she tells Ziggy to run, and she, like, as you see Tommy running, everyone else is around, all these creepy killers, that kid that killed the person on the bed, he's freaky, he's looking, you got this Michael Myers looking burnt dude, and all these killers coming around, but then you have Tommy who's practically charging at them. So Cindy tells Ziggy to run, and Cindy runs over to Tommy to try to hit him again. She hits him, but then he uppercuts her with his axe. Looks brutal as hell. She falls back, and Ziggy's kind of like looking behind her, and then all of a sudden you got that Michael Myers burnt looking guy runs up and just stabs her, and she falls on the ground. And then we just go back and forth. Got Tommy just axing the shit out of...
They were getting annihilated.
Out of her chest.
Oh my God, over and over
Ziggy's
again.
Getting stabbed with that Michael Myers guy.
Shanked, it
on
the
hurt.
side too.
I'll tell you, this was probably one of my favorite scenes. This whole part was one of my favorite scenes in this movie, especially because it made me feel something. I felt shocked. I felt hurt. Like it hurt. Like it looked like it hurt. The blood looked great. The acting and both of these these girls were amazing. The only thing is, I feel like Cindy would not be able to talk with how many axes she's gotten to her.
No, that's the only thing.
Yeah. She would have been dead already.
That was one compliment that I had for Alice. When Alice died, I was glad that she didn't say anything. She just kind of had some gurgly noises and died. And I was like, yes, okay. Because I was really hoping that she wouldn't have like a last word or something. Because then I would have definitely decided your character's fucking annoying. But
I wish she would have one last word so you agreed with me, but that's okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the only thing that kind of took me out of it a little bit. I was like, oh, you're not the one who should be talking.
Yeah.
If anyone could be talking, it's definitely Ziggy. And that's the end of them, man. That's the end of that story that that Berman is giving to Dina and Josh to kind of explain where she came from and how she got to the point that she's at right now.
So after it shows them like an aerial shot, the storm's starting to happen in the distance, all the killers are gone, but then Nick runs over to Ziggy real quick and she's looking like shit, she's obviously dead, and he starts like doing compressions and she somehow comes back to life, which doesn't make any sense. She bled out. Like, I don't think you can come back from just compressions, but she does. She ends up being saved, and Nick's not really sticking up for anybody else. He's just like, yeah, he's trying to act, straightforward with the situation because he knows it's fucked. But he also is like, cop situation and will never like take me seriously. And I think that's what happened with Ziggy and him. Like, they lost connection. And then Ziggy sees her sister getting the bloody blanket put over her face, and it's unfortunate. Yep. She's a little upset about that, which is understandable.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's just, Nick had that one moment to be like, I believe you, and he decided not to. And truthfully, I feel like after seeing all those deaths and all that stuff, it just kind of motivated him to want to be a cop more, maybe to, try to maybe stop these things from happening, because he still believed that all that stuff was hocus pocus.
I feel like he still kind of knew in the background, or in the back of his head, he definitely knew. He definitely knows. But he's playing it off like he doesn't. Yeah.
Oh, right. But he was still in denial.
And then, that's when we're out of 1978 and back in 1994 with the story with older Ziggy and back with Dina and Josh.
Yeah, and they explain that, they found the body, so they just need the hand, and she gave them the good story to be able to find the hand, which was pretty much what the whole story was about, was so that they could know where to find the hand.
Well, the hand is located in the middle of the mall, but next to that tree, which I knew from the first movie that there was going to be something, whether a body, a hand, something with that tree, but there's no way that hand would have still been there with them redoing that mall around that tree. They would have redug up the ground, put new ground around that tree, and all that other
Sarah
shit.
Fears lives on forever, Dylan.
Well, she does, so.
Sarah Fears is everywhere.
So Dina grabs the hand and goes to the location where they wrecked the car, where Sarah's body is buried.
Before this, Berman decides to call Nick, and the way that he knew who was calling, she didn't give her name. She just said that it was someone that she used to know when they were in the Judy Blume book club together, which I thought was a nice pullback. He speeds off, and Dina tries to get Josh to stay in the car, and her nose starts bleeding, and so they know that they have to hurry up. So she leaves Josh in the car, buries the hand with the body, and all of a sudden she's just like having quick flashbacks of her friends, and she thinks that she wins, and all of a sudden her nose is dripping, and it drips onto the hand just like it did for Ziggy, and all of a sudden she gets all these visions. And it starts popping in, and suddenly she's in this whole new world where this movie ends by her being in Sarah Fears' situation back in 1666. She feels and looks like herself to herself, but they show her reflection in the water that shows the face of Sarah Fears.
Yeah, and I think that's so cool. And then that's when we get the trailer pretty much for the third movie for Fear Street, 1666. And at this point, from what I've seen, it reminds me a lot of American Horror Story, with all the original actors from the other movies playing the parts of the time period pieces.
Yeah, I wasn't happy about that. I didn't want that. I'm going to have a hard time with that. I feel like I'm going to have a hard time with that. And I didn't watch it only because I agreed with you last night where it might have affected how I felt about how I talked about this one if I did see it.
Good. I'm so glad.
So I did hold back. I held back on that.
Yeah, because we're going to watch it tomorrow.
So Dylan, please grace us all with your magnificent final thoughts on Fear Street Part 2, 1978, baby.
My final thoughts on Fear Street Part 2 is a fun ride. I thought it was a great ride. The acting, like I said, was a little rough sometimes, but some of the acting was really, really good. So it kind of made up for that, as well as some of the characters were a little rough, while some of the other characters were really good. Location was awesome. Again, with the feeling like you're in 1978, did a great job. They stuck with like the time period music as well, like for that generation. Same guy who composed all the music for, all three of the films. So the music was still good. I still enjoyed the music from the first one more altogether, but the second one was pretty good still, in my opinion, pretty much the same. And the lighting and camera work was great. And like I said, I think it was a fun ride. Just it does not hit me like the first one did. I think there's some parts where it was just like, this story is a little lame, or this is a little like the too many character developments that aren't necessary. So,
all right, well, hit us with that rating, my friend.
With all that being said, I'm going to give this movie I was going between 6 and 7, but re-talking about it and thinking about it, I think I'm going to go and give it a 7 out of 10 empty popcorn buckets.
I helped you give it an extra point, didn't I?
I think you did. What me just talking about helps a little bit.
Yay. That's funny, though. That's very funny, though, because I gave you a point and you took one away from me.
Oh, really?
So my conclusion on this film, I thought that it was wonderful. I loved that we got two very similar, two parallel concepts in two separate movies so quickly that have the same kind of vibes with the same people, so you still feel like you're really invested and you're kind of, it's part of a learning experience of shit that you had already received first time around. I thought the actors did great. I think everybody played the parts for the most part that they were meant to play. I thought the music followed along really great. It was very effective. The lighting throughout the film was wonderful. There was a few times where I wasn't too happy with the lighting. But overall, I would still say that I didn't have any complaints with the lighting. The story itself was good. Sometimes I agree with you that I felt like they were forcing some more backstory out of people when I felt like there was enough character development going on and there were enough other stories and side situations going on that we didn't need the extra shit. It didn't make a difference, and truthfully, it didn't matter. The only thing that it did was maybe make, like in Alice's example, make her death more effective when it felt like she was getting her shining moment and then dies immediately. You know what I mean? That definitely still did make me feel something. But overall, I think that the movie was great. I think that it brought the heat. The kills were great. Tommy did really good. There were, like, that sci-fi heart thing was kind of off, but I also get it because, where the fuck is all this shit coming from? And they definitely needed some explanation rather than them just, like, coming out of their own grave halfway across the United States or something. Or, well, I guess it was all in Shadyside, so... Said, them just popping out of their own grave in Shadyside and coming out and doing all that. I don't know. But the heart thing was definitely out there. And maybe we'll see how that all forms itself in the next film. And so with all that being said, I have to give Fear Street Part 2, 1978, a nice, solid 7 out of 10 empty popcorn buckets.
Awesome. So we kind of matched in this one. All right. So is Fear Street 1994 still your favorite movie?
It is.
And I agree. It is still my favorite movie as well.
It is. I can't let me enjoying the kills in this movie more distract me from actually being realistic with what my opinions are of the movies.
All right. I like that. So any upcoming personal stuff, Joe?
No, I don't got anything going on. Still getting those ducks in a row. I barely made it on time to do this. I got to go to work in like 35 minutes.
Oh, God. Okay, so we're going to hurry. Yeah, nothing new with me. Just new ideas for a 15-second video and house hunting and working a lot.
Oh, nice. Well, I'll be looking forward to hearing more about that later.
I know. I didn't get to tell you because we were too busy today. So, all that being said, yes, we'll just move on.
Yeah, what's coming up, Dylan? What we have another week's worth of new movies coming out. Why don't you hit that list real quick?
We have a documentary called Val, which is a documentary about Val Kilmer, and Midnight in the Switchgrass. That looks really good. How about you, Joe? Anything else?
Yeah, I'm just gonna bang these out. We got Joe Bell, we got Jolt, Old, Snake Eyes, and Troll Hunters: Rise of the Titans, and all in 1 week. I would say once again, all these movies look like they have the potential to be pretty good. Even in the past 2 weeks, every movie that I've listed, there's been more than 3 that all of them look like they have the potential to be really good movies. So those are all there. They're all coming out next week, or actually the week before that you're hearing this. But hopefully you check those out. If you did like them, let us know what you think, and maybe we'll check them out. Let us know at don'tspillthepopcorn@gmail.com. And to top this all off, listen, it's been a fun time. I've had such a good time with everybody, Dylan. I'm having a great time with you. But nothing will ever beat the time that we were sitting at a movie together when I visited you, and Cameron looked at me and he said, "This is perfect. This moment is absolutely perfect." And right after that, I made it the biggest mistake of my life. And all I could keep thinking in my head over and over again was, "You idiot! Don't spill the popcorn!" You know what makes me sad right now? Is you have no idea what the last episode sounds like. Usually by the time that we get around to recording, you at least have heard the last episode, and you have not heard this one.
I know, so I don't even get to hear it before everyone else. I'm sure other people are probably hearing this episode right now. Is it out? No, tomorrow.
No, tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So
Yeah.
most people are probably going to be hearing this episode before I get to.
Oh my goodness. Now that is VIP packaging right there.
I'm a little nervous because I can't be like, this needs fixed. Although you never fix anything I say needs fixed because you're like, it's already there. So I'm like, okay, whatever.
It gets buried pretty deep in there.
Hey, Maximum F it. I knew this was going to be a problem. Trust me, listen. I practiced this so many times and I kept on fucking this part up, all right? So it's not going to change. It's going to take me like another 5 times, so just get ready for it. Just get ready for it. I don't even know what I said. Hey, Maximum FX? I think I said FX? Maybe, I don't know. Oh, Jesus Christ, he's dying over here. I don't know if I can while you're doing that. Oh my God. Just a
I'm sorry.
minute wait. Little intermission here, guys. Joe's dying.
Holy, that was good. Woo! All right, that was good.
But you gotta promise me that if I do it again, which I will, you can't laugh so long. Maybe a quick chuckle, but
I'm just gonna take him off. Go ahead.
Okay.
I can't wait to change all the sounds and musics for season 2. Like, I'm actually really excited for that.
You're already ready. You're already ready for that, and
Yeah.
it hasn't even we still have some time.
Yeah, I know.
Don't spill the blah, 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 ha. How Hollywood is failing chant ba pa pa poo pa tea.
Cock-a-poo-poo.
What? Oh, that's from Bruce Almighty.
Bruce Almighty, yeah. I don't know. My brain is fucking...
I love that scene.
My brain is all over the place.
And he's
I
like
know.
typing and shit.
Nobody else could do that but Carell. They tried to have so many different people do that, and Carell was the only one.
Oh,
Of
really?
course. Yeah. He was
Oh,
the
I did
only one
not
who
know
could
that.
keep up. Yeah, he was the only one who could keep up to do it.
I love
Only
the
fuck-
bloopers when he chuckles a little bit in between, but then tries to keep himself
It's just
composed.
Yeah, he does that so much. God, fucking legend. Both of them. I fucking didn't have any popcorn today, Dylan.
I didn't either.
I didn't have any fucking popcorn today. I'm pissed.
I didn't either. Me too. It was too early for me because I started rewatching this early in the morning. I was like, I can't have popcorn right now.
Oh, I would have ate it, but I didn't make it to the store in time. Oh, I had a Pop-Tart.
Don't spill the Pop-Tart.
Fucking A. So, without further ado, friends, family, followers, whoever you are, ISIS, I don't know, who's listening?
Oh. No, don't listen to us.
Unless you're going to back us on Patreon, then. Maybe.
Just don't say who you are, I guess.
Yeah, just be anonymous, please. Just stay anonymous. Do it for us.
I really don't want to have to shout out their names or anything. You know what I mean? Like, thank you, ISIS, for the Patreon donation.
Oh, Jesus Christ. By Montecito Picture Company. I thought there was more, so it's going.
Nurse Lane's daughter, which is Ruby, and explains
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Ruby Tuesday.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
Sorry. I'm holding us back. Continue. Do you remember in Dewey Cox? Do you remember Dewey Cox when he was in rehab towards the end? And he's like, I need more blankets. I need less blankets. I need more blankets and less blankets. All right, man. I would love to stick around and chat, but I do have to hurry up and go. So thank you for doing this. I'll keep in touch. I'll keep you updated. The show will be going live tomorrow at 5 a.m. Okay, my friend?